it up. It's a guy. It takes time. He'll come eventually. Wait, is he? Oh no, as a photographer. So, ladies, thank you for joining us. Tanya will be the first one to talk. Would you mind coming here, or you want to be there? You have a presentation, right? Can you? Yeah, okay. I'll wait. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Really inspired with all these talks since morning on, and I always prepare well for my performances, but then I go, this is so inspirational flow where I'm now at, what I'm gonna say, so this is us sharing 10 next minutes together, and let's explore on the topic. I mean, when I read first this long title, I said, well, this is like I would write it down, right? It's really long, it says all the words, and usually my coach would say, so what's the question? Like, man? And I said, I told it all, right? So in my words, it would be powerful and free while making a difference. So this is something that I truly believe in and stand for, and try in a way also to share the message on, to be in our soft self, so our human sense, like Nana was explaining, but at the same time being powerful and making a difference. And is it just... I'll use this one. Okay, so let's break it down in a way, the whole title of it, because I just find it interesting to see every word in it, because usually we just skip it, because we know the answer. And today, maybe because we are in some so safe environment, or loving women supporting each other from early morning on, we can explore a little bit. So the question for me that I put it, and for us, who do we actually bring to work? The first part of the question. And at the morning we did some introductions, and I say, how is it different? Who did we bring today to this event? Who do we bring to work, to home, to other settings? So let's play a little bit on that, and just because we do have time for that. And if you look at all the words of these questions, actually behind every one, I do believe it's another question, and really what's the answer? And what's known in who do I bring in? What's the self that I'm talking about? In which setting? What conditions? What I'm gonna doing there? And just behind every of them, I think it's choice, at least one of them, conscious, less conscious. But maybe if you ask ourselves, who did we bring here? And maybe you're not sitting so close to each other, but maybe just sharing with your neighbor, who's the self that is here on the seat next to each other, bring closer to each other. So one word that describes who's the self here. Look at me. I'm playing. Yeah. Oh, wow. Thank you. I brought the sensitive part of me. This usually try to be in a form. Now it's open. Playfulness and I think impact. So just to warm up a little bit, that there are actually more people here than we think that they are. So who of you choose to say more words than one? That's nice, right? Sometimes you cannot put it just in one word, right? It's more. And usually we are asked, say just one thing, Tanya. And I said, I cannot. I mean, sometimes it's good one, but then can I have a few more minutes to say nothing more or explain? But then, yeah, just to play a little bit around it. And at the beginning, when I started to work in the garment, the beginning of my working career, I was, I don't know, complaining a lot, like Nana was saying, how we see ourselves, how we see the world. And I wanted to change everything, of course, and I wanted to work a lot on it. So I studied a lot, I worked a lot, I was searching how I can do even more and learn more. And my first boss and mentor at the time, she said, well, maybe you have right, that it's really that bad. And in my 20 plus years of experiences, it's never that bad that it cannot be worse. And you never know what tomorrow will bring. I said, that's really not what I wanted to hear. And it sit with me, right? And it makes a difference. And at similar that time, I guess I was complaining and trying to change the word differently as I try to do now. My friend brought me this gift of this booklet, like shit happens, so get over it. And the first quote in it is, if you want to succeed in life, you have to have a wishbone, a backbone, and a funny bone. I said, that's good, right? That's something that I can live with. And there's another in it. I'm not going through all of it, but they make like shifts for me, how we perceive the world and what we can still do if we bring ourselves into it and try to collaborate with others and succeed in it. And the other was, experience is when you get something that you didn't want. And I said, oh, what's that, right? And I shifted, experience is something that I want something, but then I learn what I need to learn in it. So many opportunities when we play around with our lives, with our situations, especially in the working environment, and usually we just don't play. We just don't explore. We just take it for granted what is there and how we perceive it. That's going to work, who do I bring in, what that actually means. And I realized for myself, being many years in the governmental structure and also outside, how much I limited myself. No one said that I cannot do certain things, but in many cases I was playing too small. I would question because I was often named, I'm too emotional, too sensitive, too participatory, too collaborative, but also too demanding, too ambitious, too result-oriented. So these twos, right? And I was struggling, okay, what's this all about? What I need to learn? Of course, I learned a lot, and it was so good. And I was all of that. And considering who was the judge and what's the criteria judge upon, enough, not enough, too much, right? And in between, that's why I think I developed this, that what we're talking today, that it's really to give ourselves the opportunity to explore a little bit how much we are aware, how much we can be even more aware, like today, open up to learn something new, to learn each other, to just see things from different perspectives, and maybe I can do things differently afterwards, and not just from the known. And the other thing often that we usually work from the known, or at least from that part, I know that I don't know, so I know what I need to learn or whom I need to integrate. But that's like a huge ocean of I don't know what I don't know, and usually we don't go there to fish for our answers. And usually you consider it like a comfort or danger zone. And for that was again like a shifter for me during all these years. And for today's debate, it's not perfect definition to make it softer intentionally. But in a way, I split it like a harder part is like a knowledge that we proved it's always the same, and it's good to do it the same way, right? So we don't change it, because in a way it would be stupid, right? And it's the knowing, it's the rules, it's the facts, but then the softer part is what we bring to the table, like the human part, whatever that means and whatever that is. But it's also, in a way, a balance of it, and mainly I perceive it as a practice, that it's ongoing, day to day, it changes. So that's why we get confused, okay, so why it's not the same as yesterday? It was fine yesterday, and today we're saying something else. So usually this is where we feminine don't see the problem or challenge, and the masculine part, maybe the harder part of our brain says, why are you confusing things, why are you changing it? And for me, exactly that, oh, it's not working, yeah, it is. So that softer parts are in a way driving us to make that differences and to find it the right fit, the right glue, how we can work it through the harder part. So in a way, I don't see that they are like two parts, that nothing is in between, but actually they go together, and that's why sometimes we still need to practice it. And I do believe that these softer aspects could be strengths. I don't say that they are necessary, because often we create obstacles out of them. And for me, working with people in different capacity, I just see that everything comes to communication, and sometimes we think that we're so good at it. I often hear, I don't know, myself, but it's not really about me, people that I meet that say, And this time I really thought that I said so well, I prepared, every word had the meaning, and the other person just said, I didn't understand anything that you said, or gave me completely different response that I was saying. So in a way we get confused, and again, it splits us. We go in our known group, right? So we don't stay in a communication to learn from each other. Okay, that's so great that you see things so differently, right? It's not soft, it's actually hard, what Tanya is referring that it's soft, right? Okay, that's interesting. Like Anna said, could you be curious about it? And I think here is something that we can really explore or stay longer in to really learn, and usually we just don't stay in long enough to learn. And I mean, it reflects in relationships and in society in general. And just mentioning today, because I was talking with my dear friend who's here today, and we know each other since childhood, and then it's so great to see each other with red hairs again, and crazy as we were as young girls. But we use so nice words today, right? Empowering words. But how often we actually don't talk with ourselves internally with so nice, empowering, inspiring words. And actually here, I'm grateful for all the teachers, men and female, and actually men taught me that inspiration comes from the Latin word inspire. It actually means breathing life into. So he says, Tanya, come to the room and will you breathe the life into it or suck out of it? I said, wow, that's a challenge, right? But then I think it's really a good point, right? Whether we bring life into ourselves or suck out of it, and also if we bring it into a relationship or suck out of it, again, in the room, in the society. So again, play of words, but actually, like Nana was saying, how we see ourselves and what words we use, we create our reality. So a challenge for us, as see in the morning that we are open for challenging and hugging and playing children's games, so that's perfect. Just observe words that we talk with each other, with ourselves, but then with each other, whether they're really inspiring, empowering, or in a way, they're those that I have to be powerful. I'm powerful most of the time. Actually, working with people on that sentence, being powerful and free, usually they're very powerful. We are familiar with that, we struggle in it. The word that is confusing is actually the freedom. So where's that play that comes in it? A lot of choices and a lot of words that usually don't mean actually the freedom that we could give ourselves. And in it, I think a lot of potential for that softer aspects to be actually huge strength, and no one can take it from ourselves. We take it. We limit ourselves. I remember working with one minister, preparing for one meeting, and he would say, because he used the boxer terminology, and he said, "You're good to go. Gloves off." And I said, no, that's not my style, right? I'm the sensitive one. I'm not, that's not my style. He said, your style, gloves on, off. And I said, well, that's good, right? That's something that a good coach would do. And it actually worked, because in a way, that too sensitive, that's often how I perceive myself, too soft, too, I don't know what. So it could be very decisive, not confusing the soft for not being decisive, not being efficient, not to being, I don't know, powerful in a way, but I was playing in a way, okay, nice, right? So that gloves off, in a way, brought that feminine leadership, in a way, out of it and into practice. So we can learn wherever we go, and also out of the door that we go, we can pick up some good line to learn from. And I refer to that danger and comfort and danger zone, like that's a pool that from comfort, when I stretch, I can come into something dangerous. How I perceive it from my perspective, it seems like out of the comfort zone, I would be in a zone where I could fail, where I don't know how people will perceive me, where I don't know if that I know how to be successful in a way would work. And I often think that we consider that it's too dangerous, because actually when we do that step where there, we know how to learn what we need to learn. And it was astonishing for me, so what? We are afraid of learning? I mean, do we really, right? And I think we're not afraid to learn what we want to learn. So we apply for this course and this course. I'm going here because I'm going to learn this one. But usually we learn, I mean, life takes care that we learn what we need to learn. So it's that part that we don't know what we will learn, what we have to learn. So I think it's like a huge field, again, where all these softer aspects can become strengths. And usually it's great that we can develop them because it's the only way that we can be successful in it. Because the harder part just, I don't know, it paves the way. In between is the work that we need to do through it. And I usually play as a coach, of course, with potentials and limitations. And it's astonishing how hard it is for people to talk about potentials that they have, and they immediately know what's the limitation. And the limitation is really what we've created, that is limiting. And just to, of course, there are many questions we coaches leave from them, but it's really, so okay, usually they say, yeah, I already know everything. Thank you for reminding me. I say, that's great. So what are you going to do today? And I say, I was here. Was that good enough? Well, okay, if it is, but still. So usually I say, okay, one thing that impacted you already today, and that you share with someone in the room, and that would be a challenge for all of us. And one thing that you will be going to share with someone who's not here, because they didn't have the chance to be with us, but we could stand for someone to share what impacted us, and with that we can expand this learning zone and make it less dangerous for all of us. So these cues for the debate and challenges if anyone would take it, but maybe, I don't know how long with the time, it's three of you, is there anything that you, or if you would take the challenge, that you just raise your hand if you will share with someone in the room after we finish, one thing that impacted you since the morning on. Anyone? No? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. So, who is next? Ivanka? It's your turn. You also have a presentation, right? So.
Do we have a presenter by any chance?
No.
No. Okay.
There you go.
Okay, thank you so much. Hello, everybody. My name is Ivanka, and for me today, this being here with you is actually something that I would call inspirational action from my side. Because when I saw this topic about bringing our whole self to work, is actually something that is part of my mission, and this is really mission-driven. I'm approaching this topic from various aspects. I'm a consultant. I work mostly in organizational development and human resources, and trying to bring together what we call female and actually feminine and masculine part into the work. And actually this is something that we were born with. Our DNA is from one masculine cell and one feminine cell, and we have this wholeness in ourselves. But you know, civilization brought us to the point where until, let's say, 10, 15 years from now, we just started discussing feminine part in business. By that time, masculine part was dominating. And that's why we are together, that's why we have organizations like WEF or other organizations that are now bringing consciousness about female part of it. And I will approach this aspect from a perspective of something that is called polarity management. Has anyone heard about this? This is meta-concept, meta-methodology. Okay, so polarity management comes from psychology. I'm also a psychologist by my education. It comes from Gestalt and from a person called Barry Johnson, American Gestalt psychologist, who works with business clients as well. And I will approach this softer side, but not only to it, but softer side together with harder side, because that is the wholeness. And as you discussed it, we also have this harder side, we have to have it, and how to bring this softer side. Let's discuss polarities, just to introduce you with it, and this is really something that I believe from today you will put these polarity lenses and see these polarities that has to be interconnected into wholeness every day. So, we always have this left pole and right pole in our whole lives. The first polarity we are facing when we enter this world is breathing. Actually, we have inhale and we have exhale. Inhale is a female part and exhale is masculine part. And then we live in the world of polarities. We have activity and rest. And so many everyday polarities. When it comes to business stick to masculine part of polarities too much. Seeing this softer side, this left pole, this feminine side, as something that is dangerous. And I will explain you from this perspective why. There is nothing in this world that is good or bad. Everything has its upside, good side, and its downside, what we call, like the bad side. So even inhaling has its good side and its downside. We come to the downside when we neglect exhaling. And vice versa. Exhaling has its good side because we are releasing CO2 from our lungs. But if we do it too much, if we overemphasize exhaling, we will start to, like needing oxygen. So there is nothing in this world that is good or bad by itself. It is only forcing one pole and neglecting the other. So, why would we like to connect these poles? Because we have some greater purpose. When it comes to breathing, it is life itself. You have to breathe, you have to inhale and exhale in order to be alive. And we have some deep fear that we want to, avoid. When it comes to breathing, it is death, obviously. So, we are all taught by our biology, by our physiology, to manage this polarity of breathing, like inhaling and exhaling, and to stay on the upsides of both poles. And we don't even think about it. So, any questions on this? I think it's really clear. So, comes to softness and hardness. Starting from upsides of softness. Empathy, affiliation, support, everything. This is soft feminine part when we interact in our businesses. Hardness also has its upsides. We have some demands, some boundaries, we have some challenges, and we need both. But why we were neglecting softness? Because of its downside. If we are too soft and neglect this hard part, we will come to its downside, which is no results orientation, no standards, no personal involvement. We just, like empathize, being very soft, having country club. And business need both. But what is happening when we overemphasize hardness? Oh, we all know this. Cold-heartedness, rigidness, pressure. Okay. What we want to achieve is continual progress in business and to avoid stagnation and declining. So historically, business said, okay, no results orientation, no standards, no personal involvement will bring us to stagnation and declining. So let's cut this soft side because it's too dangerous. We will overemphasize this hard side with demands, boundaries, challenges, and we will live with cold-heartedness, with rigidness, with pressure. We can live with it, because it will bring us results, which is wrong. Because we all know, we all come from businesses, no matter which sector it is, but we come from business, we know what happens when you have too much pressure, too much rigidness, too much cold-heartedness. We also drop down into stagnation, declining, because people do not want to involve themselves. What we don't know how to do is this: how to manage this polarity, how to flow from the left pole to the right pole, and again from the right pole to the left pole, and constantly stay on the both upsides, which will bring us to continual progress and continual results, which we actually want. No soft side will never, having no soft side will always bring us to stagnation and declining. My clients, managers, directors that come to me for consultancy or coaching or training, they always tell me, if I do not pressure, there are no results. If I do not set challenges, demands, whatever, there are no results. And I say, did you try something soft? You know, did you try to involve person, to connect, that's dangerous, because if I empathize, if I'm too soft, then, you know, people will not do their work, which is wrong. So, to conclude my speech today, in order to be more open for softer side, I believe that businesses need to understand that soft side is supporting hard side and vice versa, and only together, like, you know, great feminine and great masculine part can bring results every business wants, with even less efforts involved, and without these comments like, if I'm not pressuring, there will be no results. So I truly believe that we are entering a new era of business. We are entering a totally new perspective, and I can see every day with my clients how open they are for this left side and everything that comes with it. This is not the only polarity we are working on. This is just one example, which is very connected to today's topic. And I really look forward to see future organizations that manage very well this polarity, both with women and men involved in it. This is not only female part for women, this is also something that concerns men as well. So I will conclude with a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt. She says, "The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams." And my dream is that we have organizations that manage this polarity very well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We all learned something new today. Andrea, your turn. Your turn.
Thank you.
There you go.
So, hi from my side, and hello here. I'm Andrea, and well, let me tell you, I'm working in a marketing department in corporate company here in Slovenia, and I consider myself like the, I would say, connector of words, events, people, and worlds. And I'm in a field of content marketing for a long time. This is my profession. But this is not my whole self. I have a path that is similar to, no, it's not similar, it's the same, but it's going along with my professional path. And this is my inner personal part that is expressing as a very creative path, and it's involving my feminine intelligence that I work with. I work with it in business, I work with women, I facilitate women's circles, I do women retreats, I do many things. I also do conferences that are balancing both sides. And this is alongside my work. But it's not different, because I bring these qualities into my work also. And yes, my path was not straightforward. It was a spiral, it still is. And I'm walking, you know, through the challenges every time, but on a completely new level. And what I learned from my path is that I will give you an example. I was participating in a conference that was called Future 5.0. And this conference was all about technology and where we are heading to as a society. And it was about 5G technology. It was about, you know, how as we as a society, where we are headed to and how we are really on a breakthrough with the new things. And these things can be a bit scary, at least for me, because we are talking about artificial intelligence, we are talking about technology, and it's a huge step in for the whole planet. And then the one lecture in this conference had a title, Management 3.0. And I was like, wow, that's what I see in our society. It was a complete representation of where we are with human development. If the technology is going to 5.0, we are only coming to 3.0. Because 3.0 management is management that we have a vision to have in the society. And it includes inclusivity, empathy, it includes soft skills, it involves qualities as feminine, as I address as feminine intelligence. And you know, feminine intelligence does not exclude men. It is present in both, in women and in men. This is not gender-oriented. This is the principle that works as a natural, organic principle in our planet. So, but yes, women are more familiar with it, and we carry it in our bodies. And we have better access to it, and we need to remember it. Because it's time that these skills actually come into the balance with other. And this is, for me, what means bringing whole self to work. So, management 3.0, we are not even there yet. So the gap between the society, technology, and these harsh things and reality that we are already into it is not including the skills as a pure heart wisdom. How we will manage this technology if we are not conscious enough to benefit, to make a benefit for people, planet, and everybody in it. So we need to consider this when talking about bringing our whole self to work. Because in my path, I discovered where all starts, within. So I needed to develop both sides. And for me, it was hard for me to develop a more decisive side, but only on outside. Everybody told me, you are so soft and you're gentle and oh my God. And I was like, can you stop telling me this? Because I felt myself that I'm also very much know what I want and very much decisive. Yes, I needed to develop this side too, I admit, because my feminine intelligence is very much present, it's natural to me. But then I considered and I saw and I evolved and I saw myself, it's like water. Water is soft, it's fluid, but on a long term, it can brush every stone. It can brush every edges into the soft rock. So this is the power of the water, and this is the power of the qualities that are needed in our society. I run in a long term. I'm not fond of something artificial or fake or something just on the surface. I stand for something that has depth, that has foundation. And the foundation I needed to build within myself. So I did it. I don't know, this is the never-ending job. This is never-ending story. But I turned within me. And so where are the qualities that I can bring into work? So now I'm bringing, I'm the same in my work and I'm same when I'm doing other things. And in my work, I started with small things. For example, I like to move my body because I feel this is also something that women like to do, probably also men, but it's something, you know, you're more creative when you move. And I said, we sit in the office all the time, mostly. So I said, can we have a bit of, I don't know, gym in the morning, something like moving the body? And they said, well, you can initiate it. So I did. And now, for 1 year and 1 month, no, maybe now it's the 2nd month, because it's February already, we are having in our office 15 minutes of morning gym. And it's a small thing, but now it's 12 women coming, only women for now. Even twice men joined us, but then they said, it's not for us, all women here. But they see, now they respect this time. No one comes to the office at 8:30, because they know it's a gym time. And they started to respect it, not only respect it, they started to actually like it, because they see the different mood in the office and with people. And this is a small quality that is connecting. It's not only something good for us and ourselves, it also brings a different quality into this harsh environment. And people accept it and they start to move with it. So I feel like small steps like this can bring a change. And we have to start with ourselves, then in our workspace where we are, with the people that we work with. We can bring it into our local communities, and adding, it's not, you know, some of these qualities, but it's a multiplication of it. And this brings change to the world. So bringing our whole self to work, it means, for me, bringing my feminine intelligence and knowing also how to not react to people's, you know how it happens in the office. A lot of conflicts because it's very fast. The decisions needs to be made fast, and then it easily, you know, the conflicts can happen. But once you bring your whole self to work, you can listen to what is really there. And you can respond and not react. And this is a huge difference. Because when you respond, you come from a different place. From a place that you addressed as a, I think, growing zone. I know where we are going to, the potential of both qualities together. And then we can, from this place, when we respond, you will see the change, you will see the difference. The conflict will stop. It might go on for a little while, but it cannot, you know, it cannot withhold this energy. Sooner or later, it will dismiss. And people will come, and they will apologize, and they will start in a very more open manner to collaborate. And I see that with such you can call it micro steps, but with such steps in our working environment, we can really make a difference. And in our department, the difference is already seen because people started to connect on a different level. And if we can do it in the office, we can do it in the communities, we can do it at home, and we can do it in the planet. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I would conclude here because I think this is the main message from my side. And don't ever not listen to your intuition or heart, and dare to put voice to it. This is also a very important thing, because you sense it and you know it, and you can see behind the words if you listen well. But then sometimes you also know that you need to put voice to it. Sometimes it's better to wait. you will know the difference also, you know. Sometimes staying quiet, but not because you don't have something to say, but because the situation demands now something else to settle. And sometimes you need to use voice. And this voice can be gentle, but powerful. And can also say, stop, I have enough. We need to support now things that are right. And this is the management of both sides. Intuition, logic, creativity, and I would say linear thinking. And receptivity and assertiveness. And on one side we have intuition, logic, so yeah, there are two sides, both are important, and this is bringing our whole self to work and then making a change with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear Andrea, for your strong message. So we have Vesna now to join us. You have a presentation? No. Oh, perfect. Then I don't need to switch.
No, no. Does this work? Okay. Just a second. There's no on button, okay? Yeah.
Of course it is.
Yes, awesome. I'm sorry, I hate, standing behind the box. I want to be close to you guys. So thank you first for coming. And today what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my story. And as a young girl, I was told that soft means weak. And I believed it. And it almost killed me. So today I want to tell you what happened and how it shaped my life, how it shaped, unfortunately, the lives of many clients that I worked with, and how luckily today I see things from a different perspective, and I believe I'm far better for it. I was raised in a very traditional Slovenian family. I had a very strong mother, a socialist mom. The independent woman who had a very important job. She was almost management level, so she was this organized lady, very strong, very powerful, a career woman, and her role model was that of strength, independence, being assertive, being, confident, knowing what you want and getting what you want. And my grandma was also a similar role model. She was not very strong, but she was a different type of strength. Strong in the sense of not showing any emotion. She had a very hard life, a lot of disappointment, also a lot of disappointment from her husband, unfortunately. And she dealt with everything with this stoic face. This is just my destiny, I have to deal with it. So imagine what I was born with. I was given this role model of, if you want to be a good, proper woman, you have to be strong, you have to hide your emotions, you have to just, put up this brave face and do what you're told. And it turns out that in the beginning, this worked fantastically for me. I was very successful academically because, I was just smiling at the right time. I was doing what the teachers told me to do, and I did really well, so obviously everything went perfect. When I was 18, I was actually studying and working 4 jobs at the same time because I had a bit of an issue with saying no to people. This is not part of what good women do, right? If you're told to do something, you do it, right? You don't question it. You don't, think about how you feel about it. You just do it, right? So I was 19, studying at 2 faculties, and at the same time working in 4 organizations. And ladies and dear gentlemen, I still don't get how this was possible. When I look back now, I cannot fit it in the calendar. Because I was working night shifts at the radio station, and during the day I was working as a publisher, as an English teacher, and at the same time I was also hosting events. And this was sometimes even all in one single day. And this was perfect, I kept getting compliments from people like, you're amazing, you're a superwoman, how do you do it? And I felt fantastic. Until one morning, I woke up and I was left without a voice. I was completely silent. No sound came out of me. And also, you know, I was a bit perplexed what was happening to me. The emotions in my body were really strange. I was not this superwoman, this super Vesna I was used to. And it took 1 month for my doctor to realize what it was. Because, you know, this was a decade and a half ago. Nobody spoke of burnout then, right? Now I know it was probably burnout. But what I was diagnosed with was hyperthyroidism, hence the butterfly. It's a symbol of all people who have problems with thyroid, so you know. So if you see a woman with a butterfly, maybe it's not just a symbol of rebirth, it might also be a symbol of take care of yourself, dear lady. And I started this process of rebuilding myself because suddenly everything I knew was wrong. Suddenly I realized being strong is wrong. Not listening to yourself is wrong. And also I started doubting what I was doing with my clients, what I was doing with the people I was working with. You know, because being a radio host, I was often invited to give workshops on public speaking. And when I started to think about how I was doing that, I was actually teaching people to be a copy of me. You know, to be strong, confident, don't listen to your stage fear, don't question if this is the right message, just go on stage, be the best you can be strong, be loud, be heard, etc., right? A lot of rubbish, which I now know, but then I didn't, obviously. And when I started finding the right path, I realized there are many paths, and all of them are okay. If you feel this is the path, right? So during the process I went through, I encountered many fantastic psychological modalities, for example. I dealt with Jung, I dealt with transactional analysis, I dealt with imagotherapy, and they all helped a lot because I realized, like Ivanka said, there are polarities we have to embrace in ourselves. And I had an issue because nobody in my vicinity ever spoke of softness. I mean, we didn't have any polarity, we just had hard, strong, result-oriented. And that is why, you know, sometimes when I worked with people, I subconsciously pushed them into stuff they were not ready for. I remember one client who came back to me, and we had this really fantastic session. You know, I was preparing this guy for this big conference, and he was doing really well. The message was fantastic, the presence was fantastic, and I was really happy with myself. I felt, yeah, you know, Vesna, this is gonna be one of those big references, you know. And then, I think it was like half a year later, we met at an event. And I said, how did it go? You never called me, you never told me how it went, etc. And I noticed he was a bit embarrassed, a bit ashamed, and oh, I said, okay, maybe it didn't go that well. And he said, you know, I decided not to go with what you told me to do. And I was in shock, right? I mean, I'm the big trainer, I know everything, right? And he said, I felt like you were pushing me to be something I'm not. Imagine, I mean, I was deeply hurt. Right? Because I thought I was this enlightened trainer who never pushes people into something they're not, right? I understand them, I feel them, etc. And so I started to question everything, you know, not only myself, but also my business. And I really had to reinvent myself. And from where I stand now, and it's, you know, it's not finished by far, but from where I stand now, SOFT is, it's a really nice acronym, by the way. S stands for being sincere, but in this Latin sense of being pure, being, you know, just what you want to say without a mask. Because most of the time we wear masks. We even wear masks for ourselves, because we don't dare look at ourselves. So be sincere, be who you are, right? You don't have to be the perfect person you think everybody expects you to be. Be open. I realized that also in my work and in my private life, it's not about the destination. You know, I was always told to take care of the KPIs and what are the results of the training going to be? Can we measure the results? Can we see the impact, etc., etc.? Now I realize it's not a destination, it's a journey. So be open to this journey. Maybe when we start the process, it's going to take us someplace new. Who knows, right? F, be friendly. I don't know if you know this quote, but I love it. It says, whenever you can decide to be either right or be kind, be kind. I love it. So be friendly. Why be brutal with people? I realized I was actually brutal with people, you know? You can do it. Go on stage. Do it. Why? Maybe she's not ready. I was harsh on people. And the last one, T, true to yourself. You know, Shakespeare said, to thy own self be true. What does that mean? You know, how can you be true to yourself? Who am I, in fact? It's like you mentioned, right? Who's the self I'm talking about now? Well, there are many versions of me. But I don't know if I don't listen to them, right? And what I realized is I need to say no more often. Not just to people around me, but also to clients, unfortunately. Because whenever I say yes to the wrong person, I say no to myself. Right? So being soft is actually creating this polarity, you know, being at the same time soft, but not giving away on all of your strength. This is what Jung told me, right? Embrace your shadow. You know, they say that the bigger the tree, the bigger this super powerful woman, the bigger the shadow, unfortunately, the more problems you have. And it turns out that, you know, when I shrunk my ego, a lot of the problems were gone. So that's my advice for you ladies. Just, you know, be soft, be sincere, be open, be friendly, and be true to yourself. Thank you.